So you know that you need to leave, right? You know that, but maybe you feel emotionally panicked. Maybe you feel like you just can't take the steps. I think when we're in abusive or toxic relationships, there's often this kind of oscillation between we love them and we hate them. Because they're kind and they're cruel. They're mean and abusive and they bring you flowers. And it's really hard to keep track of who they actually are. Now, this cycle in an abusive and toxic relationship where you essentially feel addicted to the person, you're not addicted to the person, you feel addicted to the person. This is a trauma bond. And this is a feeling that creates such confusion for people because you feel so attached to someone that hurts you. So then the thought of leaving, your body's actually going into withdrawal. Now, you're withdrawing from all these fun little chemicals going through your body. You get dopamine spikes when things are good, and then you crash when things are bad. This is compared quite often to a heroin addiction, but it's often compared to actual addiction because it feels the same. And it seems crazy. I know it often seems crazy to people unless you've experienced it, but this feeling of leaving the relationship actually brings forward the same feelings of withdrawal that someone who's addicted to a drug would feel. And it feels like, oh my God, like many people have described feeling like dying, quite frankly, but it definitely feels like you can't survive, you can't breathe, your palms are sweaty, your heart is racing. There is a variety of things that you can feel when you're trying to leave. Panic is definitely one of them. Now, the truth is that we need to be able to kind of cope with this, because if every time you go to leave, you feel panic and you give in, not blaming you, you give in to that panic, you can't cope with the discomfort or the anxiety of this, then it leads you to stay or it leads you to go back. We don't want to do that, right? We want to do something different. We want to feel like we're in control of this and we're not stuck in a cycle. Now, a trauma bond is an unhealthy attachment that exists in any relationship where there's abuse mixed with intermittent reinforcement, mixed with kindness. Now, I want to be clear. Every abusive relationship includes some level of kindness at one point. Obviously, what we know of abusive relationships is in the beginning, it tends to be obvious, right? It tends to be somewhat consistent. They're a good person. They make you happy. You feel so attached and so in love. When you get deeper into the relationship, suddenly it's missing. Suddenly it's a little irritation, a little criticism, a little devaluation, a little gaslighting, a little manipulation, something in the relationship, but it's not consistent, right? They don't just flip a switch. It's that they start to sprinkle it in. That can grow more and more. And some people who are in an abusive relationship or in a trauma bond report that there is no good anymore at all. And we'll talk about that. And some report that it's this oscillation and it's so confusing, and I get it. For the people that kind of relate more to like, yeah, there's no good anymore, I think often what's happening in this conditioning and this kind of grooming is that we're conditioned to accept less and less and less. And then what feels good is now the absence of abuse. So it's not that you're getting flowers, it's that you're not getting screamed at. So if you're getting yelled at and called names or cheated on or lied to or ignored, then somebody just saying, hey, what's for dinner? It's like, he's not ignoring me anymore. And you actually, your body feels this response of like, oh, there's connection, which is relief. But we mistake that feeling of relief for love. And this is why it's very confusing, because trauma bonds mimic love, but really it's a deep and unhealthy attachment. This is why our brains refuse to take on the fact that this isn't love, it's a trauma bond. Many people will even say, fine, I'm a trauma bonded. I get it. I believe you. You're an expert. I get it. But I love him. They don't coexist. This is not the conditions in which love can actually thrive. You need things like reciprocity, empathy. These things are fundamentally important, necessary in an actual loving relationship. You are addicted to the feeling and these dopamine hits when they're kind to you. And I'm air quoting kind because sometimes they are kind and sometimes they are less abusive or neutral. And I get it. So it's incredibly challenging to kind of keep your head straight. Typically what we're experiencing here is cognitive dissonance because we see this two sides to them. We see the good and the bad, and then we think they are good and bad, or we think that they are good, but they do bad things when really they are bad and they pretend to be good. Major oversimplification, right? But does that help make it make sense? I hope so. But the panic that we're actually feeling is a survival response. One thing that I wish that we all could just know, because I could say this, but we need to know it, is that survival responses are beyond our control. And what we really need to do is learn how to regulate our nervous system, which is not an easy thing. And there's not one little trick to doing it. But that is key. You know, this like, I can't leave feeling. We talk about this of like, you know, something wrong with you emotionally, you can't let go. It's actually physiological and it's biochemical. There's a lot more going on. So I want to help you kind of reduce the shame of you chose to stay from this is not easy to leave. And I don't just mean like, this is a little bit tricky. This feels like dying, right? And someone in the comment is even saying that, and I felt that way. But that's a very normal feeling. Like you can't stand the feeling. It is unbearable to feel like I'm not going to be with this person anymore. And especially if you have this push-pull, you know, hot-cold thing that is so common in these relationships. Every time they withdraw, you chase. And then you start reading things and it's like, well, he's avoidant and you're anxious and that's what this is. It's just the natural. No. That I get the push-pull dynamic. Yes, absolutely. But this I can't. I'm going to die if I leave them. That's a trauma bond. Maybe you're anxious, maybe they're avoidant, maybe not, but this is deeper. And so what typically is actually keeping us stuck is the fantasy, the potential. This is not love. This is my person. The amount of people that say that to me though, and I get it, right? He's my best friend, if, you know, other than the abuse. And I know that sounds weird to say, but if you've experienced it, you get it. It feels the worst feeling in the world is what it is to leave someone like this, even though it's the best eventually, but in the moment, it's not. And so we feel this withdrawal and we feel like, but you don't understand. I need that person back that I fell in love with. I know this person. I love this person. He showed me who he is. We planned a whole life together. You're missing the fantasy. You're fearful of what it's going to be to let go of the fantasy because you think that that's the real them. And that's a huge part of this problem, is that we think they're a good person who does bad things. But does a good person abuse someone? No, they do not, right? But we think, well, maybe a traumatized person, maybe he's not a bad person, maybe he's not a narcissist, maybe he's just avoidant, maybe he's traumatized, maybe his mom didn't teach him, maybe he's doing it on purpose. Maybe he knows exactly what he's doing. Maybe he benefits from being abusive, and he sure benefits from you being confused, right? You're confused AF, and I get it. It makes sense. And this is the fantasy. So we need to reality test of, is this who this person actually is? Truly. Is this person a good person? Okay, let's talk about that. Are they a good person or a bad person? Can someone be both? What is the evidence of them being a good person? They're nice to you, why are they nice to you? When are they nice to you? Really start looking at that. Is it self-serving in any way? And then you look at, when are they mean to you, and what does that do? When are they mean to you? And it's not about time. It's not about how often they're mean to you or how often they're kind to you, because frequency is not that relevant. You'd be surprised, again, the amount of people that are like 80% of the time, they're very nice to me. 20% of the time, they're abusive. 5% of the time. 0 is the goal. You know, I've seen this before online, you know, picture of me holding a cup of water. I don't drink enough water, so I don't have water at my desk, but picture you're holding a cup of water and it's pure water. Wonderful. You want a sip? Absolutely. Okay, this is a cup of 95% water, 5% sewage. Do you still want it? No? 0% abuse, right? Now, we have problems. It's not abuse. I just get upset sometimes. It's not that bad. All the things that we tell ourselves, but we're rationalizing the abuse, and it's not conscious. We're not consciously going, I know this is abuse and I'm going to deny it. It's like the cognitive dissonance which is the name of the discomfort from the confusion. This makes us in pain, in turmoil, right? We're living in a dual reality. It's profoundly confusing. And so our brains and our bodies are sort of unconsciously trying to choose a not terrible option, which is, okay, maybe it's not abuse. Maybe he's just had a bad day. Maybe I am doing something. Maybe it's me, because these things seem fixable. But this belief that they're just abusive, because they benefit, because they can. It's like, where's the solution in that? It doesn't really go with what we believe of people and how we want to believe the best of people. So you feel this panic when you go to leave, or when you even think about leaving, or if they leave you, and that draws you to try to get them back. The amount of people that actually seek out their abuser and try to get them back, and I'm telling you, the abuser is absolutely like, I'm not a bad guy. You know how I know I'm not a bad guy? Because you want me. You wouldn't want me back if I was so abusive, therefore I'm not abusive. So all of the arguments and it doesn't matter to them because you keep coming back. And in fact, some people who are narcissistic have straight up online even admitted that they will punish you for coming back. Yeah, they begged you to come back. And then when you come back, they punish you because you're weak. Can't believe you came back after I cheated on you. They even will promise that they'll never cheat on you again in order to get you back. That's the conditions in which you accept them back. And they're like, she knows I cheat. All I have to do is tell her I'm not cheating, because they had to prove nothing, right? And how do you prove that you're not a cheater? I don't know. Not by taking them back. That actually leads me to kind of a side point here, that a lot of abusive people will say things like, how can I prove to you that I'm changing if you don't let me back? And it sounds so logical, right? But you're asking them to not talk to you. You're asking for space. You're asking to break up, and they don't show you any respect. And instead they prioritize their own needs of, I want you back. So have they changed? They still have no respect. They're still contacting you when you asked not to be contacted. They're still begging you when you asked for silence and you asked them to just leave you the hell alone. So be really careful on how they sort of suck you back in. It hurts, and we are in pain, and it feels like, well, if I miss this person and if I'm in such pain and they want me back and they're pretending to be different, then I should give them another chance, because I'm sad. Giving them another chance would make me less sad. And if they're telling the truth, couldn't we just be happy? And I get it. Oh, I get it so much. But here's the thing. They are always going to be this way, because nothing changes in a quick conversation with a therapist. Nothing changes because they lost you. We want to believe that they have the capacity to change. And fundamentally, people can change to a degree, but people don't change like their entire worldview and belief system. It is a trap. It's a complete trap. And they pretend and they feed into the fantasy that I'm talking about. You don't want to let go of the fantasy. I get it. Nobody wants to let go of the fantasy. The fantasy is what's keeping you going. Hope, fear, obligation, all of these things kind of commingled. It keeps you stuck. This is what drives the feeling of panic. But panic is driven by, if you leave and you're wrong and he was not the problem, you're the problem, then what? If he leaves and he's better to somebody else, then you were wrong. If he leaves and now you have to sit with the grief, or now you have nowhere to live, or now you think you're going to die alone forever because you're going to be a single mom, because you don't like your body, because he told you that you're fat, because he told you no one would ever love you, because you've always felt this way, because he destroyed you. Like, all leaving is like, oh my God, it's so overwhelming to think of what's next, because they destroy you. Now you have to face the loneliness. Now you have to face shame. Now you have to say you failed. You have to divorce. You have to give up your church, your community. It's like, I think I'll just stay. Oh my God, I think I'll just stay. It puts you in this freeze mode. And the confusion also does that. You're living in survival mode, so then you don't even know what action to take. This all needs to start with a deep breath. We need to calm our nervous system and really start to think a little bit logically. We need to use a little bit of reframing and reality testing and start really seeing this for what it is. The education piece is huge. Now, I teach a group coaching program called the Trauma Bond Recovery Group Coaching Program. I work with Dr. Peter Salerno in my groups. It's a 12-week program, but we teach all the 12 steps to actually break a trauma bond. Nervous system regulation, week 5, is huge. We also teach self-validation. We teach all kinds of skills, how to resolve cognitive dissonance, how to learn what your unmet needs are, and then meet them yourself. We want to be less dependent on this type of person. It's so important. But step 1 is, right? Calm your nervous system. That's huge. His behavior creates panic in you. The hot and cold, the withdrawal, all of this intermittent reinforcement, all of this is what creates the panic because you are afraid. He wanted it that way. And I want you to really think about, how does that benefit him that you feel that way? In a huge way, because you stay. And abusive men benefit from being abusive, even insofar as something very simple, in that they like being abusive. They like the control. So it's like, what's the benefit? Control. You don't want control, so that makes no sense to you, right? You wouldn't want to control someone, but they do. That makes sense. Makes no sense, I understand, but it makes sense. It does feed their ego, absolutely. Someone asked, where do I sign up for that group? So on my website, strongerthanbefore.ca is where you can sign up. You click on the group coaching and you'll find it there. But you can also look at in the link in the description, the link in my profile. You'll see group coaching, trauma bond recovery group coaching. There's one there. I also have another one called Rise and Rebuild for people who are already out of the relationship and are just like done with your narcissistic research online and you want to shift the focus to yourself. But for those that are still in a trauma bond, the trauma bond program is going to be so much exactly what you need. The people that take that program, by the end of it, they're like, oh my God, like this is not the stuff I was learning online. I needed this. This is skill building. This is not, you need to learn how to calm your nervous system. This is how to calm your nervous system specifically. And it's a small interactive group, 8 to 10 people. So if you're like, I don't get it, we can go deeper. If you're, have a question or you say, hey, you know what, I tried that, it doesn't work, we'll switch it up. So it's really education with skill building, group discussion. Dr. Salerno hosts 6 and I host 6, and we take you through a 12-week program. It starts on December 11th, but we run them every so often. So check that out. Do check that out. Let's see here. I was able to prove parental alienation without being represented. Father has attorneys. That's amazing. I'm good for you. Why does he pay a bill or buy me something and then curse and scream at me like it's my fault he's broke? Well, narcissists, particularly the covert ones, but narcissists love to play the victim. And so they sort of concoct these scenarios where you've made them the victim, right? Because he will pay a bill, which is necessary, or buy you something and then blame you for paying bills or buying you, but you didn't make him do those things. But it's like the cost of being nice to you. So then you feel bad and you go, no, I'll pay the bill. No, you don't have to buy me anything. It's to like beat you into submission and to make you smaller so that you don't have any needs anymore. What they want is to just take, and you have no needs, no wants, no desires, no requests. You take up no space and you ask for nothing. And these are some of the many methods to do that. So it makes no sense and it makes perfect sense. When you start to like really understand narcissism, true narcissism, it's very eye-opening when you start to see the games, right? Creating situations where you're upset, creating situations where you can't ask for things, or he bought you something. So now that he's screaming at you, you're mad. You're mad. Oh, so I can't raise my voice. I'm literally so nice to you. I just bought you something last week and now here you are treating me like crap. See how he's the victim? There's all kinds of reasons why, but fundamentally to play the victim would be the most broad statement I could make there. Very, very infuriating. It's infuriating. Someone commented, it's the worst thing that I've ever been through. Moved to a new state, and 1 year later, still healing. Healing is hard. Healing is not linear. I feel like a therapist saying that. I'm a certified coach, not a therapist, but I do specialize in exiting and breaking free from toxic and abusive relationships, and certainly in breaking trauma bonds specifically and rebuilding after them. But it's such a therapy thing, right? Healing is not linear, but it's not. And it does take a long time. And I see people take years to heal. And I don't mean you feel broken for years, but healing is hard, but I think it's harder when you don't know how. And this is what I mean is I see people who are like spiraling out and like, I just want to forget him and I want to leave, but I can't, and I miss him, and I get it, like so many feelings, but take a breath. Take a breath. There are specific skills to learn. And I want to talk about this panic of when we go to leave people like this. And even if we're gone, right? That feeling of like, ugh, do you want to go back? All of that, essentially, I'm oversimplifying on purpose, but it's anxiety. Can you sit in the discomfort? It sucks. And I feel like leaving these relationships, it's like option A, leave him. Ugh, I can't breathe. That sucks. Okay, stay. Ooh, that sucks. Okay, so both options suck. So you stay frozen because everything sucks. Like, what are you supposed to do? You choose to hurt yourself either way. I need you to try to see this as leaving sucks in the short term and gets so much better, and staying sucks forever. I'm being very simple on purpose, okay? This feeling is going to go away. We have to learn how to sit in the discomfort, how to manage the anxiety, how to cope with distress. So again, part of this group coaching program that I host teaches distress tolerance, teaches coping skills, real usable coping skills that you can action in your actual real life, and ones that work at midnight, at 2 a.m., at noon, at the office, at the grocery store. We need a toolkit of ways to help ourselves get through this and learn how to detach and really let go and see this for what it is, because the anxiety is brutal, absolutely debilitating. I know, I really do. But the panic is temporary. That feeling of it's withdrawal, it's temporary. Staying is difficult. Both are difficult, but staying creates a life of difficulty. Now, someone wrote, not everybody can leave in the moment, obviously. Leaving is the goal. And I mean, I have videos on YouTube about leaving is a privilege. Divorce is a privilege. I got a lot of comments on that, like, what? No, I mean, I think people in it, like, it is a privilege. There are people who literally can't leave. They have no money. How? There's so many factors. Go where? And these men create these situations. But for those that have the ability, as in logistically, you have the ability, doesn't mean it's easy to leave it still, because now you're dealing with the emotional part of what leaving entails. And it is in these moments where you're going to be scream crying on the bathroom floor, bent over in the kitchen. You can't even breathe. You're gasping for air, whatever, however this feels to you. Withdrawal is a brutal thing. You look at addicts withdrawing from drugs. It's like, that's what it feels like, literally. So it's beyond painful, but learning how to cope with it. So find coping skills, learn how to sit in the discomfort. You think about, like, you want to call the person. Don't, right? Okay, I want to go no contact. But let me just check his Instagram. But let me just send one text. Oh, he's blowing up my phone. Let me respond. It is, how do you sit in, like, we have to get ourselves through each issue, each situation, each incident of wanting to reach out, wanting connection, wanting contact, and then being like, how do I get through this moment? Knowing it's going to come back in an hour. How do I get through this one moment? That AA phrase, one day at a time, works perfectly here. It's actually week 4 of the group coaching program is one day at a time. How to just, all I need to do is get through today. We talk a lot about coping skills in week 4 as well. But the regret of staying, the amount of women who later are like, oh my God, like, I should have left sooner. And I don't say that like we all have these feelings of regret, should have left sooner. You couldn't have left sooner, right? Our capacity is what it is, whether it's logistics, emotion, whatever. But they use a lot of tactics. And actually somebody in the comment section is talking about that feeling of guilt. Like, oh my God, is guilt successful? Guilt is wildly successful in these relationships to just keep you completely stuck. And I hate that. I absolutely hate it. In this book, which is called Surviving to Thriving, this is one of my books. It's a blueprint of leaving, and it is a workbook. So it's not just a book to read, it's a book to go through. And it's not a journal, it's a workbook. I mean, there are some journal prompts, but there's lists and many things. So it's called, I know it's backwards, I'm sorry, but Surviving to Thriving. Don't mind my broken nail. Surviving to Thriving. It hurt quite a bit. You can get this on Amazon. You can get it in the link in my bio. The best way to pull up my books on Amazon, I have noticed, is to search my name, which is Lisa Sonni, Sonni. And then you'll find books. But guilt, the reason I brought this book up at all was because one of the chapters is on guilt. And beating the guilt, which is the name of the chapter, is very difficult. But what you're feeling is false guilt. And you want to learn how to change the emotion from guilt and overcome that because you have nothing to feel guilty for. We are groomed in these relationships to feel responsible for the person. And when you feel responsible, and they sort of have this really unique way of sort of infantilizing themselves while also being the alpha. And so you feel like you're abandoning a child on the side of the dirt road at midnight when you try to leave somebody who's abusing you. It's wild that we feel so attached and so responsible for someone. There's a lot of tactics about how they get you to feel that way, but the guilt is manufactured and the guilt is a manipulation tactic. And it works. Guilt is one of the top feelings that people describe. It's absolutely. I just want to read some of the questions. Yeah, do little things each day that make you happy. I love that. Yeah, I think that's getting rid of a lot of these feelings. And actually in this book, we talk about the 6 sort of biggest issues that we hear, and letting go of potential, resolving cognitive dissonance, overcoming fear, beating the guilt, mastering boundaries, and improving self-worth in this. Very key. You don't have to feel ready to leave. And this is the tricky part. We want to feel ready to leave, and then we'll leave. So you want to learn things and feel things that will inspire you to take the action to leave. And sadly, I hate to break it to you, that is often just not how this works. Often we need to jump into the darkness. I understand, like jump into the abyss of not knowing what the future holds and leave. And then we learn that it was the exact right thing to do. But the fear is like, okay, you tell me to jump and I jump, and then it's not the right thing to do. What if it's the worst decision? What if he loves somebody else? What if I die alone? What if this is the best decision you could have ever made? What if this is the thing that's been holding you back from having everything you want? What if doing this, making this decision, doing this hard thing, this wildly hard thing like leaving him, is the best decision that unlocks the life you always were meant to have? When I see this in myself, when I see how happy I am in my own life now, I cannot believe I ever loved this man. I don't even know who that woman was that was in love with that man. I don't even, she's a stranger to me in the best way possible. I am living the most happy life, not a perfect life, the most happy life. I am more me, more happy, more money, more everything. And I see it constantly. I get that it's not every person's story, but I see it constantly. Women who leave and stay gone and love it and go on to be happy, single or with someone else, but happy because you're free. You can learn how to be you. You know, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I 10 out of 10 recommend. Leave your husband. Do it. Leave your boyfriend. If he's abusive, he's not going to change. And that's the key. He's not going to change, and he's doing it on purpose. He's not going to change, and he's doing it on purpose. This panic that you feel, he doesn't feel the panic. Now, I want to talk about the panic that looks like he feels for those that have that guy, because I didn't actually, but to me, there's, I'm going to say 2.5 types of men here, types of abusive men. There's the ones that beg you, please, oh my God, please don't destroy our family. I love you so much. I'll go to therapy. I'll do anything. Please don't leave me. To, who cares? Leave. Who cares? F you. You're fat anyways. Nobody's going to love you. Who cares? You stupid bee. I'm going to cut off our car insurance, and do all the mean things. You file for divorce. I'm going to take everything. I'm going to make sure your kids hate you. Like, there's those 2 guys. Now, I joked 2.5 because the half guy is both of these men. The guy that oscillates between, please, I promise I'll change, you stupid bee. Huh? It's so confusing. It is so confusing. But it's the panic of the man who's begging, please, that guy is only panicked because he's losing control. He is not panicked because he's losing you. He's losing control of you. Do you understand what I mean? And I know it looks the same, right? He loves you so much. But he is losing control. How come he only cared when you left or when you said you were leaving? Suddenly he'll change. So he didn't care all the times you cried and begged. You had to threaten to leave. Well, maybe it took the threat of leaving for him to really understand. Fuck off. Absolutely not. No, it's because that is the exact moment where he was going to be impacted. Your little whining didn't matter. You leaving, you taking your attention, admiration, chores, laundry, and sex with you, that's a problem. You taking away his ability to control you? No. Especially if you're married, especially if you have kids, especially if you own a home together or have a lease. All these things build this ownership in their mind. Trust me when I tell you, they are not sad. Narcissistic and abusive men are not trauma bonded to you. They do not love you. They do not miss you. They do not care that you're leaving. They care in the sense that they're losing control. They have lost something, not you. You are not anything to them. They lack object relations. They don't feel anything about you. You are not a person. That's why the whole life is built around them and who they are and what they want. That's why you live in a world of double standards, because you are a book. You are an object to be put on a shelf. And when he wants you, he'll have you. And when he doesn't, he'll put you down. You do not matter. Fundamentally, they act like it. Why do they act like it? Because it works. Let's not overcomplicate it. Because that's the thing that gets you back. That's the thing that sucks you back in, is they're like, but I love you so much. Please don't do this to our children. I'll do anything. I'll go to therapy. I promise. I've been going to therapy. It's a lie. Why does it only happen when you go to leave, right? And then this incites the panic because you're like, oh my God, what if he changes and this stupid woman on TikTok told me to leave? What if you go back and stay and it's 5 more years? And, any age that you are, because it's so interesting. Women who are like in their 20s, it's like, oh, I've got my whole life ahead of me. Life goes by quick, girl. Listen to the rest of us that are in their 30s, 40s, and so on. Life is like, boom, bam, you're 40. And you don't want to learn the hard way. But whether you're 25, 45, 75, I had an 84-year-old client once, helped her leave her husband. I was so proud of her. She was amazing. She said she couldn't manage one more day. She was like, I would rather be than be with this man one more day. And I said, amazing. And that was 3 years ago, actually. I'm so happy for her. But anyways, people of all ages, you don't want to waste another second on someone like this. It is better. Yes, it's better to be alone than to be abused. Yes, it is. It is. And I know it's lonely. I know in the good moments, it's like, this isn't so bad, right? Like, so he's a little mean sometimes. But in the worst moments, you're like, oh my God, I can't do this for one more second. That inner turmoil is chemicals running through your body, the dopamine, the cortisol, the serotonin, like it's just running through. So leaving is a withdrawal of all of these chemicals. So this is why nervous system regulation is the #1 part of this. You need some somatics in this, okay? I teach all of these things inside the group coaching program. I also have a self-paced version called the Trauma Bond Recovery course. It's not guided by any facilitators, but it's the framework laid out. That's only $97. That's also on my website at strongerthanbefore.ca. But the one that's brought to life with 8 to 10 women, and I co-host it with Dr. Peter Salerno, That one is a live interactive program. We run it for 12 weeks. The next one is December 11th, but we have these programs run every so often, so you can always check back and see when the next dates are. But this is important for us to learn that this panic is something that we are responsible for. Meaning we're responsible for ourselves. I don't mean you're responsible for having created it. I'm saying you are responsible to manage it, and you can get through this. And I have faith in you, and I teach this, and I watch women learn this skill every single day. Coping skills and emotional regulation and nervous system, all of this stuff is so useful in general. It's also really going to help you leave this person, get over this person, not go back to this person. But, right? We can take a deep breath. Everybody take it just, right? Learn these skills, build this up, cope with the panic, and learn that the panic is a manufactured feeling that somebody manufactured on purpose. And I want you to be pissed off about that, because rage is helpful. You may not want to hold on to it forever. I hear you, but, right? It's amazing. It is a life-changing decision. It absolutely is. So please break your trauma bonds. And I know that if you feel like you want to leave, but that panic is what sucks you back in, or guilt or fear or obligation or any of these things, you need to learn how to break a trauma bond. Stick with me, click follow if you're not following. Watch me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the things, and interact with my content. Sign up for my newsletter, work with me one-on-one or in my group programs, or join my community membership that I run. Anyhow, please learn how to break free of this, because you deserve happiness, love, and freedom. So thank you so much to everybody for being here, and I'll catch you at the next live. Thanks.